This tutorial is going to teach you how to make circles using our compass, and it's also going to teach you a few tricks about the compass as we go. First of all, when we look at our compass, I want to point out, here's a bigger picture, that this compass is a very professional style. And when we are using it, we need to make sure that the graphite tip is sharpened at an angle. It's called a chisel tip. And the sharp end is closest to the point that we puncture into our piece of paper. If you have a dull piece of graphite, you're not going to have very clean circles. It'll be really grubby. It'll skip around on you. So how we sharpen the tip of our compass is we use our sharpening pad and hold our graphite at a 45-degree angle. Okay, trying to get that. And you just rub it back and forth. Okay. I usually ask my students to do this over the trash can because now you have all this graphite dust and you do not want that getting on your work surface. So, okay, so I just cleaned that off for me. You also want to make sure that the sharp tip on your compass is just a little bit lower than your graphite because we will be puncturing into the piece of paper. You're going to stab it and pierce it just a tiny bit. You don't want massive holes in there, but you do want it to stay still. And that's also one of the reasons why we have this specialty desk, is because it allows you to have those little pin pricks and it won't scoot around on you like they typically do in math class when they just have that hard surface. Okay, so figuring out what size to make our circles, we're going to be looking at these symbols. This circle with the line all the way through it means diameter. Okay, so it means from one edge of the circle all the way to the other is going to be 1 inch. When we are setting up our compass to draw, however, we need to make it the radius, which is from the center point to the edge, which is just half of the diameter. So half of 1 inch is going to be a 1/2 inch radius. Okay, so that makes it a little bit easier, but I want to look at some of these more complicated fractions here and show you a trick that honestly I wish my math teachers would have showed me. It makes life so much easier. Okay, when you have a more complicated kind of mixed variable here, there is an amazing trick to help you find half of it. So 1 3/4 inch is equal to having 3/4 inch plus 4/4 inch. So this diameter is equivalent of 7/4. To get half of that fraction, all you do is multiply the bottom number by 2. So now our radius equals 7/8. That's the entire trick. That's as hard as it has to be. So what you do is you turn it into a top-heavy fraction, and then you multiply the bottom number by 2, and that is the fraction divided by 2. So that's pretty easy. When I'm setting up my compass, I love to use these index cards because you don't ever want to put the sharp tip of your compass against the plastic of your scale, because this is a very soft plastic and it starts pulling chunks out of there. I don't ever want to see my students putting their compass right up against this. It's also not used as a straight edge. If you put your finger along the edge, you'll feel these little bumps, okay? And that can ruin an image really easily. So what I do is I find a line on an index card and I mark where my 0 is, and I'm going to set it to a radius of 1/2 inch. So I'm going to make another mark right here. Okay, I'm also going to label it in case later on in my drawings I need that same measurement again. I typically use 1 index card per piece of paper because I like to have all the sizes down so I can reference them later. Okay, so now I'm going to set my compass. Don't ever yank the wheels apart. You're going to roll it, this little piece right here in the middle, to open and close it. And to make sure that my compass is at the correct measurement, I'm going to put it in this first dot that I measured, which is 0, and I'm going to open it up And once I think that the tip of the graphite is right at that point, I'm going to do a practice swipe. Okay. If the arc cuts exactly through that point, then it's already set at the right dimension. Okay, you don't want to say, oh, close enough. There's no such thing as close enough in mechanical drafting. It's about precision. So I have this now, and I'm going to put the sharp tip of my compass at that very center of this center line. And I'm just going to feel it pierce the paper just barely. Remember, no big holes. Okay. Another good thing is when you are using a compass, don't hold it straight up and down. Use the tip and angle it in the direction that you are going to spin it. This takes practice, folks, but I can usually tell. So if I'm turning it this way, I angle it this way. If I'm going to turn it the other way, I angle it this way. Okay. You want to have a nice, clean circle. Also, I want to point out this line type, this center line, it is supposed to extend beyond the edges of the circle. So if your circle that you drew is the same size or larger than those center lines, you measured incorrectly. So give this a try. I have to warn you that the smaller the circle is, the harder it is to control. And that's why it's so important that the chiseled tip of your graphite is closest to here. Have fun, good luck, and enjoy making your circles.